The gay bar is a new endangered species. This is the focus group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the focus group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Welcome to the Focus Group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is our website. You'll learn all about us there, including our Tuesday podcast, TFG Unbuttoned. And of course, you could watch Focus Group in video form on Wednesdays, always at YouTube, or if it's audio only, it's popping into your platform's stream of choice. Welcome to the week, Mr. Bennett.
Hello, Mr. Nash. How are you?
I'm good. You know, we had a lot of feedback from our article about what to do with parents. You know, when you inherit a house full of stuff,
right?
And, you know, our friend Lauren over at Deep Discounts, like, please tell me what to do with my mother's hippo collection. It's kind of like, we were talking about this with Hummels and stuff the other day.
Hummels are, you know, the commemorative spoon collection or the salt and pepper shakers or any of that sort of stuff. I don't know what you do with it. You try to see if... I tried with some of my grandmother's stuff to see if my nieces wanted it, and they didn't bite. I said, you know, there was a picture.
My nieces didn't bite on our stuff either.
Well, I thought it was odd, though, because I said, you know, this was a vase that your grandmother brought. It's one of the only things that survived when she came from England, and this is the vase here that the family brought back in, 20. Nah. I was like, okay. It'll end up, I guess, at a yard sale or the thrift store someday. Yeah. Then there was a painting that my great aunt had done. I said, it was a landscape theme, not a bad picture, no interest. But you know what my one niece wanted? The doormat of the house. Is that new, Uncle Tim? I said, yeah. Well, I'll take that. So she wanted the doormat.
That kind of tracks with Bob. Bob did a tag sale upstate here at the house. It was you know how Bob stages things. Yeah. It was really, really well staged.
Oh, it was yeah.
And he had 2 step ladders at one point, and between them was a bar, and hanging on the bar were some antique dresses and a couple other things. People were asking how much the step ladders were.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you had your when you were moving out of Glenside, you had that broken vacuum. So how much is the vacuum?
Yeah,
you had
all this
great stuff.
And then the 2 office chairs I had thrown in the garbage next to the garbage cans. Yeah. And the guy's like, how much are those chairs? And before I could say they were in the garbage, I thought, $5 each. Oh, I'll take them. So take them. They were going in the garbage. They were broken.
Hey, and I completely forgot to say, we were offline last week, thanks to the blizzard. Strangely, it hit Delaware and your section, Tim, where Tim's at, pretty hard, and you lost power for quite a while.
We had off power from Sunday to Tuesday. We had 19 and a half inches, huge tree limbs wiped out our Adirondack chairs that you used to sit in. So we need to get new ones, probably at the Costco, but they've gone up in price, John, tariffs. And,
Tim, yours were wood though, right?
No, they were that poly plastic, whatever they make,
the fake
that resin or something. Yeah, and then you don't have to paint them or anything. But these limbs were so big, they just crushed them, pulverized them, just smushed them down. And Tim I joked, I said, maybe I could fix them.
No. Tim's trees, by the way, were white pine trees. We have them near our house too. And when you look up at a tree like that, the limb doesn't look that big. When it comes crashing down, it weighs. Are you shocked at how much those limbs weigh? Did you try even picking
really
one
heavy.
up?
Yeah. We needed. If I had my dad's chainsaw, I probably could have cut them up, but we could not. There was a huge limb on the roof, and we needed somebody to come take that down. And so, since we had to do that with the tree company, and then the branches were split so much, we needed to have them trimmed up as well. So they cleaned up the other stuff, but it did a job. But the whole area of the neighborhood I live in, almost every house had some pretty and tree damage that you just couldn't fix yourself. I mean, I would say probably 70% of the houses needed to have a tree company come. Some people ours was bad. There was other people who were worse than us. And then the tree company just came and they couldn't, I asked them if it punctured the roof because we just had a new roof. He said he wasn't sure. He couldn't tell. He thought there might been something. He said we should have it checked. I said, why don't you clean the gutters when you were up there? He laughed at me.
I would have too. I have to say that, Tim also had to deal with brownouts and it was a major power outage. And then we were on a conference call for work with another guy, and suddenly Tim vanished and he came back on his phone, and that was because power was out again. And it was a very unsteady week for us to produce the show. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yes. So
I'll tell you something about chainsaws, by the way. Bob went and bought an electric chainsaw about 2 years ago, maybe 3. And we came up to the house after a big storm. And here, you may get this too. The worst storms in the world are when it's just close to freezing and it becomes freezing rain, sleet, whatever. And then that weighs the trees down. We had one of those huge pine branches crashed onto our patio. It hit so hard, it shattered a piece of stone. And we had guests coming for dinner. And we didn't lose power or anything, but we had people coming, and I had to clear the driveway. So I went out with the electric chainsaw and cleared it up. But I got to tell you, no matter how small I sliced that branch up, if you picked up one of those pieces, it was 30. I mean, it was not light. Let's put it that way.
Did you burn them in the fireplace or no?
Pine needs to really dry out a lot. So we have that. We have Bob has a rotating thing where he cleans up all the old trees. We cut them up and we burn them. So they're due to be split and burned, I think, this coming year. So there's a system in place.
Bob manages the wood, the firewood.
All That's projects, good. All stuff like that. The fireplace. We have Guy come every 2 years to do the clean the creosote down. Yeah. When we first moved into the house, we had to have it done, and the guy's like, "Oh, you're at creosote 3." I'm like, "What's?" It's like BBC 1, BBC 2, from
creosote
Austin
3.
Power. Creosote 3, and I'm like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Well, it's you don't want to be at 3. You want to be at 0 or 1." I'm like, "Okay, let's get there." So,
I worked with an agency once called Creosote.
Really?
It was an odd agency name. Yeah, they did. It was when I was on the board of my Marietta College. There was an agency they hired called Creosote. And I thought it was an odd name for an agency. Remember, everybody was giving those crazy names.
Well, I still love 72 and Sunny. Was the Santa Monica group, right?
Santa Monica, yeah, 72 and Sunny. You want to be a weatherman in San Diego, right? But now with climate change, maybe it's different. But 72 and Sunny all week.
Yeah. Team and Pam. All right, so the way the show works is we catch up with ourselves. We have a little segment called Caught Our Eye. We do the only show in the universe that does this. Tim goes to great lengths to curate birthdays. We do the business birthday. And then after a break, we're going to talk about the endangered species that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and that would be the gay bar. And it's an interesting article that Tim came across, which we're going to share with you. But in the meantime, Mr. Bennett, what caught your eye?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
So this came from the Philadelphia Inquirer, but then I had seen that it's also now populated some of the more national news as well. Headline is, Reese's grandson accuses Hershey of degrading chocolate, making it not edible. Is he right?
I agree.
So the grandson of the inventor of the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, he went viral after right around Valentine's Day. So I guess he'd gone to the store to try to get some of the Reese's products, and they've done product extensions. Mm-hmm. So his name is Brad Reese. He's the grandson of the H.B. Reese, who started the confectioner's manufacturing of the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup about a century ago. And he's accused Hershey, who now owns the brand, of cutting corners, and he thinks that it's ruined the brand's integrity and the legacy of the product. So he posted this on LinkedIn. He said, Hershey's assortment of Reese's products, including the Valentine heart-shaped ones that I had recently sampled, include different, cheaper ingredients, swapping milk chocolate for a compound coating and peanut butter, and swapping peanut butter cream for peanut butter. And it says, how does Hershey's company continue to position this as a flagship brand if you're not going to use milk chocolate and peanut butter, which is really how Reese's is known for and how the trust was built. He said several Reese's products today, including the Valentine's hearts, as I mentioned, and also the Easter egg-shaped versions, are now using a chocolate-flavored coating that cannot legally be called milk chocolate, because milk chocolate is a term regulated by the Food and Drug Administration, and it's not unclear when it's unclear as to when these swaps occurred. However, in the original, or what we would know as traditional peanut butter cups, they continue to list chocolate and peanuts as the first two ingredients. So they haven't cheapened the regular peanut butter cup as we know. But any of these other extensions, they've done the eggs or some of the other products around holidays, they're not using milk chocolate. It says that cocoa prices, one of the reasons they're saying is because cocoa prices continue to rise, driven by a combination of factors, including climate change, which has hurt the supply, as well as tariffs and labor shortages. Chocolate companies, including Hershey, have responded by making cost-effective ingredient swaps. The Times reported that several chocolate-forward Hershey's candies no longer list milk chocolate among their ingredients. This happened, they said, around Halloween season. When Hershey was asked for comment, they didn't deny the swap, but are still defending the quality. The company said last week that Reese's peanut butter cups are still made the same way they've always been, with house-made chocolate and roasted peanuts, but that ingredients for some other Reese's products may vary based on demand. And so anyway, he was upset by it. They said that 3 years ago, the egg chocolates had more peanuts and milk chocolate in them, but the current formula lists sugar and vegetable oil first, and no milk chocolate. So he's upset by it. I don't blame him. He ended up he went to social media. Now he's waging a war. They said he got an orange cap made, because their famous color orange. It said, "Make Reese's great again." And so he's on a rampage to try to get Hershey's to go back to the original recipe. I don't like those chocolate coatings.
No, and Tim, as you were reading the change in ingredients and how it couldn't actually be called milk chocolate, I just kept thinking of Europe. And the last time I was, last year when I was on my bike trip, I remember buying Kit Kats at the Rome train station, and actually literally remember thinking these taste different than what we get in the U.S. And it's because they insist on real milk chocolate. Like their ingredient list is really short. Are Reese's manufactured over in Europe, I wonder? And if you could compare the two, I wonder if you got... Reese's used to be our favorite office candy. My old business partner, Greg, lead copywriter, loved a fresh Reese's peanut butter cup. I guess they really changed.
I love them too. Yeah, I love them too. I would be surprised. Peanut butter was shocking to me. Now, I don't know if it's changed. I'll sound like some oldster here. But peanut butter was a big thing in Europe. They didn't really have it. It's kind of peanut butter flavors an American thing, similar to root beer or birch beer.
Okay.
And I remember a friend of mine, she had gone to Spain for a semester in college, and her mother had sent her peanut butter cookies. She had made homemade peanut butter cookies, like the sugar cookie peanut butter cookies. And then people went crazy for them. She figured out a way. She found a factory in Latvia or something that could make them. And she paid for most of her college she was selling small batches of peanut butter cookies. She said the Europeans didn't really like them so much, but all the expats were dying for them. So yeah, the peanut butter never seemed to be a big thing in Europe. I don't know if that's still true. Yeah.
And of course, didn't you one year, and if you do something like, remember one year we gave some of our clients like a bag full of different flavored Kit Kats from Japan, like those green tea Kit Kats?
Yeah, the matcha tea, and there's orange and other. Yeah, in Japan they have many varieties of Kit Kat, which we don't get here. You even mentioned before the dark chocolate ones. Once in a while, you would find here.
They're gone now. We couldn't find them. Yeah.
So,
I believe this guy's onto something, and I think that when you muck around with a recipe like that, and Hershey's used to be known for true milk chocolate because they centered their Hershey's PA was near dairy country, right? You would get all that.
That's why they were there. Yeah, but it's the tariffs and it's climate change, two things that are supposedly not a problem.
Cocoa,
tariffs aren't a problem. You're not paying for anything.
No, we don't. No. So the man on the moon pays the tariffs.
Just had a blizzard. There's no climate change. Just had a blizzard.
Well, that was that childish, like, well, how could there be climate change? Because it's predicted to do this, the big swings.
Because it's going to be extremes.
Did I read a headline this morning that they're thinking there might be some parts of the Midwest and South that hit 100 degrees this week, even after we've had this weather? Well,
it's going to be 70. It's going to be 72 this weekend. Probably
for
that
you
warm
guys.
in New York. Yeah, you
Really?
may get close to it, though. Yeah, they were talking about the big weather swing.
There you go, right?
But what do we know?
Well, what caught my eye was very different. Tim and I are lovers of documentaries. And sometimes you stumble upon one and you watch it and you're like, that was surprising. Like I found one about Dabney Coleman, who you might remember from 9 to 5, The Nasty Boss. Bob came across one that we really enjoyed watching, and I think you'll like it too, Tim. It's called Between a Frock and a Hard Place. 57 minutes long. I think it's on Amazon Prime. And basically, it's about the making of Priscilla, The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Oh, wow.
Now, Priscilla came out in 1994. It's an Australian road comedy written by and directed by Stephen Elliott. And the documentary is really well done because basically he had this script and idea and there was interest in it, but they wanted actual star power attached to it, given the difficulties of making a film like this. And that's how they got Hugo Weaving, Guy Pearce, and of course, Terrence Stamp played, I think, Beatrice, the transgendered character. Terrence Stamp actually is the documentary's narrator. This film goes back to Between a Frock and a Hard Place was probably 2024 or 2023. Terrence Stamp passed away in 2025 at the age of 87. But I encourage you to look this movie up because when they're not actually talking about Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, or the Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and showing you behind the scenes footage and how they pulled this off, and it's a really tiny budget. It's amazing it got made and it was big as it was. They also then switch to what Tim and I love about documentaries. They show you the environment the movie came out of. So remember, 1994 was not exactly a high point for the LGBTQ community. We are in the middle of the HIV/AIDS crisis. We had the right wing screaming at the top of their lungs that everybody that got AIDS deserved to die from it. Need I go on? But they do such an effective job of setting the context for when the movie came out that it really makes you realize what a groundbreaking and an amazing film it was. To go to the theater and to see, an aspect of your community right there on the screen with some tender moments. Hugo Weaving has a moment where he reunites with his son because he had a son in the movie. And the son understands what he does for a living and who he is, and just really great things like that. So Between a Frock and a Hard Place.
I always loved in the movie where, and I may get it wrong, but wasn't there the guy who was going to run around the world or something? And he goes to take off and they show like 3 people cheering him on to leave the hometown in Australia. But the drag queens are driving across the country and there's hundreds of people there from the bar getting... They're going to the big city to do a drag show, and
they got the bus.
They get a bigger send off than the guy running around the world.
When Tim and I were on Sirius Satellite Radio, we were in line to get some free tickets and stuff like that. And didn't we score some tickets to the jukebox musical version of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert?
Which was, we never laughed so hard. I mean, remember how it was funny. It was really good. It's a shame it didn't stay. I know they tried to move it to Vegas, but I think the appeal, I thought it was hilarious. Probably one of the funniest things. Frank DeCaro, I remember saying it was the gayest thing ever on Broadway.
He saw it too.
Which says a lot. And I remember him we would just laugh and laugh and laugh about it because it was so over the top campy. But it didn't have that long of a run. Same with Grey Gardens was similar to that. I guess it was very limited appeal.
Well, the Grey Gardens was an interesting... who I just had her name in my head, who played
Christine Ebersole.
Christine Ebersole played Big Edie and Little Edie in the Broadway show. They were going to move it to London, and she had a young daughter at the time, and she's like, guys, this is a commitment I can't make. And they couldn't recast her. She was one of those anomalies where she was so perfect because she actually did the Kennedy honors one year. Didn't she come out da-da-da-da-da, the best thing to wear? She did that song where the best thing to wear to a
And she's a staunch Republican, too. I don't know if you know that.
Christine Ebersole?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And there you go, right? And she's
our friends Patrick and Howard had told us that because they had actually
Probably
I don't
met
know
her.
if they. Well, it's at the Kennedy Center because they've
Yeah.
done a lot of work with the Kennedy Center, and they got it. She was there, and they were talking about something, and somebody made a comment, and then they realized that she just was not. She was very much a pro-Republican.
In the tank.
Yeah, which was surprising to me a little bit. But it's like Dixie Carter from Designing Women.
Designing Women,
Remember, she would
yeah.
go off on these liberal, what you would call now woke rants, but she was also a staunch conservative. But
Patrick and Howard, or Howard and Patrick, sent a note to Clay Elder, who played John Adams on the Gilded Age, because he did that egg cooker. And we've gotten some notes from listeners who've bought the Dash egg steamer
are you still using it?
every week. Yep. And in fact, everybody who sent a note said the eggs peel like nothing. It's easy as
What do you
pie.
make? What are you making? Just hard-boiled eggs?
Just hard-boiled eggs. And
You make an egg salad sandwich, John? You make an egg
So
salad
I was at the
sandwich?
gym the other day, and I had a class that finished around lunchtime. And there's like a little lounge area in the gym, and I'm there, and I take out a hard-boiled egg, and I crack it, and I start peeling it. And the looks that you get are like, and someone who was in my class, they're walking by, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I said, "This is part of my lunch." A hard-boiled egg. I said, "Well, it's packed with protein. It's going to keep me going for another hour or two. Then I'll have something at the apartment." Okay.
Well, probably because it
Okay.
stunk. Did it stink?
No.
That's the problem
Not
with
to
a
me.
hard-boiled egg. Sometimes, but it might have stunk.
Not to me.
Not to
All
you.
right.
Yeah.
So moving right along, Mr. Bennett, we have our business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
So the month of February, despite our current administration's denial, was Black History Month. And so we had picked some birthdays around that. And so we're going to do, even though her birthday was last week, we're going to celebrate Veronica Webb, who was born February 25th, 1965. It's her 61st birthday, an American model, writer, and television personality. Did you know of her? I did.
I recognize her, and I'm really
Did you?
glad you picked her. She's, at 61, I wonder if she's still modeling, or is she now just doing
Yes,
TV
she
work?
is. No,
Okay.
she's still modeling. So born in Detroit, she came from the original generation of supermodels who helped transform fashion into a global conversation. She appeared on the covers of Vogue, Essence, Elle, of course, and was a favorite runway for designers, including Versace, Mizrahi, Lagerfeld, and Chanel. She made history though, in 1992, when she became the very first Black model to sign an exclusive cosmetics contract when she joined Revlon. And she helped expand the industry's definition of beauty. Her exclusive cosmetics contract with Revlon was a landmark moment in beauty representation. So before I go beyond this, as a white person, I guess you never think about it. When I worked my first job out of college at LTV Steel, and there were two Black women that befriended me that I worked with at the office. And at lunchtime, we would go out once in Philadelphia and go to stores or whatever. And every once in a while, they would always want to go to the Strawbridge and Clothier, which was in Philadelphia, which was a department store like a Macy's or something, because they carried this brand of cosmetic called, I believe it was Fashion Fair. And I never heard about it, and I didn't know anything. And they gave me this whole kind of lesson or rundown of the difficulty that people of color had with makeup.
With makeup.
To look on their faces.
Yeah.
And this one brand, I believe it was called Fashion Fair, actually specialized in makeup for Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would go in there and get different lipsticks and rouge and powders or whatever. So I had a big education in that. And so when I saw this, I thought 1992 was not that long ago, quite frankly, to think that it's taken that long for a Black model to sign a contract. But that's, I don't want to say her claim to fame, but that was one of the things about her, that she was the very first Black model to sign an exclusive cosmetics contract. Beyond fashion, she also built a career as a writer and cultural commentator for the New York Times, Elle, and Interview. And she also does and still does a lot of writing around wellness and self-discovery. She went to the Parsons School of Design in New York. So she left Detroit, went to New York, and was working as a cashier down in Soho.
That When she was discovered?
And she got discovered. A makeup artist came in and saw her and said, hey, have you ever considered modeling? And next thing you know, she was a model. And so as she also then originally came, she was one of the original Victoria's Secret models. Remember the Victoria's Secret fashion shows? And she also posed for the catalogs and walked the runway there. She's also been on TV and film. Some of these movies, I don't necessarily know them, but Jungle Fever, In Too Deep, Just Shoot Me, The Big Tease, The West Wing, Dirty Laundry, and Malcolm X.
Well, the West Wing TV show, very popular, right?
Yep. She also had appearances on Becker and as a contributor to Good Morning America. Her dating life was interesting. She romanced Spike Lee, Cory Booker, senator from New Jersey, and Robert De Niro.
Wow.
She dated. She's now 61. She still models, and she's also a longtime runner. She just completed several marathons and continues to train regularly. She's actually going to be walking in New York Fashion Week. She says, you can't fake the funk. She said, New York Fashion Week is 2 weeks out, which means the prep gets intentional. This is not glamorous. It's repetitive. It's disciplined. And yes, joy limiting. No alcohol, no fried food, no refined sugar, no fun until the last show wraps. So she's still modeling. She's still modeling at 61, so good for her.
And she's smartly doing
Veronica
it too,
Webb,
right?
Yep, Veronica Webb, happy birthday.
What a good business birthday. I'm glad we did it this week because that was slated for our Blizzard week. But
the Blizzard week.
You brought up a great point about makeup for the black skin tone. It also comes down to lighting too. You probably encountered this when you were doing photo shoots. It's just a matter of understanding how to light, the different skin tones.
Yep.
But for many, many years, people didn't even bother thinking about it. No. So it's, as you said, 92 is not that far away. Really isn't when you think about it. Although lately, as Tim and I talked about on TFG Unbuttoned, even stuff that happened 10 days ago feels like last century. So,
that's the world we live in now, right? So we're going to take a quick break. As John mentioned, we have a shop talk about some of the demise of the gay bar. Now, we did a show a while back that talked about some bars opening, but this one actually goes through the number of bars that have closed. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Now back to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Available pretty much everywhere.
Welcome back to the Focus Group. Focusgroupradio.com is our site. You'll learn all about us there, including our Tuesday podcast, TFG Unbuttoned. All right, as I mentioned at the top of the show for our... Tim, is this a Shop Talk focus group?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what we're calling it. Not that it's much different than what we used to call it.
Shop Talk here.
Now it's time for a Shop Talk focus group.
Yeah.
Just to rephrase, I had AI do that one day thinking I'd actually get Japanese. I got some crazy ass stereotype thing.
We should try it again and see if it actually would do it in the language. But did you ask it to say it in Japanese? And it just gave you a Japanese accent.
It was like you do it in Dutch.
Yeah.
What came back shocked me. I mean, because normally you would get this.
Now it's time for a Shop Talk focus group.
Okay. Then you get...
Now it's time for a Shop Talk focus group.
All right, enough merriment. And sorry, my apologies. So Tim came across a great article in a magazine called them.us, and the headline reads, U.S. gay bars are closing their doors at a heartbreaking pace. And the article opens by kind of setting the stage for what's going on. It says, when it comes to the queer bar in the wild, so many threats exist, and it's only gotten worse in the past few years. Higher upfront costs combined with lower foot traffic have caused a nationwide problem for the service and food industries, which is exacerbated in queer spaces which deal with smaller demographics than the average bar or restaurant. And of course, there's the fact that many people, especially younger people, just don't go out or have a third space anymore. So they began to, so that's the setup. It's always been a difficult environment for gay bars to operate in, worse now than ever. And of course, if you have a whole generation that's kind of skipping the bar entirely as a place to meet people and to a home away from home, you got problems there. So
yeah, well, we did that story. We did that story a couple of week ago where they said Gen Z is not drinking. Remember?
Yeah. Well, Tim, you're right. So you compound the problem.
Yeah.
Either I guess they have to adapt, but the margins on alcohol and stuff, you know what? I haven't bought a drink in a while. Well, I have, but it's part of the bill, and I sometimes just gape and wonder. Like, could you imagine a $22 cocktail?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I can imagine it. They're more than the food. There's a Mexican restaurant Richard and I love to go to here, and if we didn't order a margarita, it'd be about $35. But with the margarita, they're $18 a piece. So I said, we probably should not. Yeah, I said we probably should not order the margaritas, and then we would have a nice. But they are
brown
good
paper bag it with a bottle of tequila under the table.
They are good. Yeah.
All right, so they went through a list of there's a couple. They also mentioned an organization called the Lesbian Bar Project, and they're looking to document bars that are still around, bars that have been in the past. But they listed bars that have closed or opened a while ago, closed quickly. The first one they start with is a place I've never heard of before called Club Lambda, and it's in Brooklyn. It opened its doors in Williamsburg in 2022, and it said that we saw that a lot of urban communities didn't have a location that they could go to every night of the week. Brooklyn didn't have this, so we are opening Club Lambda. And I think Club Lambda actually was very much focused on the African-American community.
Right, yeah.
And they closed their doors, just recently. So they made it, they made it basically almost 4 years, I guess, something like that. So
close to 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there was a bar in Denver called Denver Sweet, which after 6 years, downtown Denver closed. They were citing labor costs and less foot traffic. They also catered to the bear community, and I did laugh or smile a little bit. They had a lumberjack brunch as one of their farewells, which featured pancakes and performances by drag queens. And then I was like, and you wonder why you closed? I was thinking, I know. Wah, wah, wah. I don't know. I'm going to say it right now. I don't understand the drag king thing so much. I know it's a big thing.
Yeah.
Do you?
I'm with you there. I don't really get it.
I know there's bars that cater to it or whatever, but it's just not my thing. But I thought, can you imagine going to a gay bar and getting pancakes and drag kings? No wonder why you're closing.
Well, I wonder if the pancakes are unlimited. There you go. The next one they mentioned was a bar in San Francisco I've not heard of. I haven't gone to a lot of bars in San Francisco, but I think the ones I used to visit when I was in the city are still there. This was called Ginger's. Ginger's closed permanently after a brief resurrection in 2024. It had previously closed, but then it came back and then closed again. And it said here, the traffic to Ginger's has not been consistently strong. So it's one of these questions of, I guess, where it's at, location, right? Getting the people in there and getting it consistent. And of course, there's going to be traffic issues Monday night, maybe not so much.
Right.
Friday busy. But I guess if it just never picked up interest, you just have to close the doors, right?
Right. And then a bar in Houston, which has been around since 1984, Eagle Houston, closed, again, citing traffic and lack of activity. And I don't know I wonder if that's Eagle as is typical Eagle leather bars.
I think it would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
This next bar here that closed recently, we used to go to when years ago. It's called Barracuda. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. They made it over 30 years, and it was a definite place. It's south of Madison Square Garden, definitely in the Chelsea neighborhood. We used to call it the Ashtray. Actually, I don't know if anybody else did.
Why is that?
When they allowed smoking in bars and clubs,
okay,
you would go in there and you'd come out and you would you would need to actually put your clothes in a plastic bag and get them dry cleaned. I mean, you walked out every cigarette smell. And Tim, do you remember that guy that was at the Hacienda, the first class air?
Oh, yeah.
Glenn?
Yeah, Glenn. Yeah. Oh, God, you got a good memory.
We saw him at Barracuda one time with Pat and Gary. And Gary used to drive a lot for work. He used to travel around to different stores when he was in retail. And Glenn starts talking crap because we knew that he was not exactly above board. And Gary is just kind of listening really carefully because he was describing how he drove somewhere. And then Glenn goes off to the bathroom and Gary looks at me and goes, "That guy's a liar."
Well, when I met him when you and I were traveling out west, he had, and I had seen him, I think either in New Hope or somewhere.
Yes.
And he
denied it.
He had a whole new story. And I remember the owners of the guest house we were staying at, they were delighted to know that we had called him out on his craziness. But
especially Steve, who used to be manager there, because
I wonder if he's still around. We didn't know it. I don't remember his last name. Do you? I was going to say, look him up on the interwebs. Glenn.
Which one?
No, I said I don't remember his last name. Otherwise, we'd look
Glenn's
up and
last
see.
name? I have no idea what it was either. That's so funny. So, by the way, Barracuda is in a neighborhood. There's a lot of construction going on around them. I mean, they literally demolished a bunch of buildings. I know the neighborhood. They claim that the damage from the construction that's been going on has been significant to the interior. It's too much to repair. They're just assigned. So I guess that's an interesting off-ramp for a bar, right? So that was Barracuda here in New York City.
There's one in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a bar called This Is It, which sadly has been around since 1968. It was known as the oldest gay bar in the state of Wisconsin. And they just never recovered, they said, after COVID. They were closed for 8 months, and they didn't recover. There was a closure besides COVID, there was also some construction. They said there was an 8-month closure of the bar's street and sidewalk in 2024, and they just couldn't overcome the financial hardship. So sadly, can you imagine? It's been around since 1968.
1968,
so, yeah, so they're closing.
And I think it said even Trixie Mattel, drag superstar, became a co-owner of the bar in 21, right?
Yeah, because she's from there and didn't want it to suffer, and I guess, as you said, had given some money or became a contributor or owner in 2021. But again, post-COVID, a lot of places struggle. So,
and here's another Brooklyn bar, and I've never heard of it either. It's called Marcy Park. New Yorkers were shocked to find out about the surprise closing of Brooklyn-based Marcy Park in this past January without much notice. Marcy Park did not begin as a gay bar, first starting as a dive bar. Well, you know, I love that sentence because any dive bar could have been a gay bar on any given night of the week, right? If you just came in with a bunch of people and they had a jukebox. So that actually, I think you are in agreement with me that we didn't always go to gay bars, but sometimes we would go to these fun bars just because they had a jukebox or something that we liked. The bartender.
Good music.
Yeah.
Yep. Another bar. This is a lesbian wine bar in the Silver Lake neighborhood of Los Angeles called the Ruby Fruit, and they again now they're saying part of their issue was the LA wildfires, which kind of did them in financially. So they're closing as well.
But, you know, even in that article, that little thing, they said for that bar, after its abrupt closing, former employees spoke candidly with the Blade, I guess that's the LA Blade, about lingering and long-running financial affairs that predated the fires and alleged mistreatment at the bar. So sometimes I guess there's a story behind the story with this as well, right?
Well, you can use the excuse of the fires.
Yeah, and get a clean break. The next bar they list here is Avenue Pub in Rochester, New York, citing concerns both economic and safety related. Avenue Pub in Rochester shut its doors after 5 decades in business. That's another long one. You know, just the economic times right now, Monroe Avenue and the violence on the weekends. This I would have almost had to do a little research on, but apparently Rochester, the area this bar is in, has had some difficulty and law enforcement has to be there more often. And again, that's one of those things where you set up a bar and maybe the neighborhood changes, or you pick a neighborhood hoping it does change, and there you go.
Another bar called, this is out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, called the General Wood Shop, which actually just kept the name of a furniture store that was there by its name from the 40s. And they opened in 2023 and closed just recently. So they didn't stay open long. They did not give a reason for their closure on Instagram or offer it to the local news affiliate. So but the General Wood Shop in Grand Rapids, Michigan, also closing.
And the last one from this article, and I'm sure it's not the last bar in general, based on the way they phrased this whole thing, was called the City Side Lounge and Kurt's Place in Tampa. In an extremely rare occurrence, 2 separate bars in the same space closed their doors in the same year. So I guess they must be near each other. And it said after City Side Lounge closed in March, Kurt's Place opened in the former venue, then finally announced its permanent closure in November. So that wasn't a long run there, right?
No.
And again, they didn't really say why, but there was a little thing here that someone owed $30,000 in rent and past due fees. That could cripple you, right?
Yeah. I wondered about this as I read the article, whether did the community do this to itself in striving for acceptance? Did they do the bars in? Because you remember everybody wanted assimilation and inclusivity, and we want to be with everybody else, quote unquote. So you don't need an LGBTQ bar.
Safe space or home away from home.
Safe space, right. And, I'm thinking, did that thinking do in these bars? Because we saw it happen in advertising.
Yes,
right. All of a sudden, you don't need an agency to specialize. You don't need to do particular creative to the LGBTQ consumer. Oh, we'll just throw somebody in now and then, or maybe we'll do a portrayal. But that was all the we want to be part of the
mainstream
crowd, right?
Yeah,
mainstream. That's it. Looking for mainstream. Do you think that's part of it?
I do. I also think the rise of apps and the use of the phone, Tim and I saw firsthand when years and years ago, we went out to Las Vegas when they were a sponsor of ours. We had something called the Madcap Weekend. It was madcap on so many levels that we still laugh about it to this day. Tim landed in Vegas and came down with like a bad flu. It was Ritz saltines and
ginger
Gatorade.
Ale. Yeah, or Gatorade and ginger ale in the bed.
But the very first day we arrived, Tim was still okay. We went to a bar, like a popular bar off the strip, gay bar, and we walked in and were shocked. Every head was bent down, looking at the phone. We go to the bar, we order a drink, and the bartender was hilarious because we're like, what's going on? He goes, oh, yeah, this is the way it is now, and you're surrounded by people who could be meeting each other, but instead they're looking at their phones. I mean, it was really an eye-opener to me. Yeah,
and he said no one talks to anybody. They just they'll talk to you on the phone and see that you're 3 feet away or something, I guess.
John, that was actually a whole thing. Like if you went to a bar by yourself, you might have been nervous. A lot of people were. You might have not been comfortable, but eventually someone would say something to you, right?
Yeah.
Or you would talk to somebody and you'd strike up a conversation. And no, maybe you it went anywhere other than just someone who was friendly for the night, and you didn't, but you still
or they
connected.
Became friends, right? You both realized you liked the same quirky neighborhood restaurant or something, and you'd meet there for lunch during the week. Or, yeah, I think it's where people met friends, right? Other people like you. You can meet friends more so than being on the take or pickup or something. But yeah, I think it's sad that a lot of these spaces are closing.
I do too.
But I just wonder if it's a sign of the times. I went to I guess maybe it's similar to this. For the first time, I went to a mall in a long time. This past weekend. And a nice, so there was a Nordstrom, there's a Macy's or whatever. First of all, the stores were in upheaval. They looked like it was the day before Christmas. Everything was unfolded. It was a mess. Things weren't in the right place. And tried to find clothes. It was all kind of this really ratty, casual clothing. I was looking for a blue blazer. There were no really nice suits, no nice things. And the one Brooks Brothers down here in Delaware closed. That we would go to the outlet. So I thought I'd go up to this mall. And sure enough, I get home and I was telling everybody how bad the Nordstrom's was. Well, they just announced they're closing. They're closing the store.
Wow.
And so and there's, I think Saks and a few other places are closing as well, as we've heard about their bankruptcy. But I guess people don't shop anymore like that. I guess you go in line. But I want to try something on. I don't know. I guess you got to just have it sent to your house and put it back.
Especially when it comes to pants, right?
Yeah, you have to try them on. But you went through that with bonobos. You had about 15 returns on bonobos. Remember?
Yes, I do. And I kept sending them back because I kept saying that, I cycle and my thighs are. Well, no, I had that whole line about I cycle and my thighs are too big for the pants. And you would laugh your ass off in the studio when you heard that one. You're like, you returned them. You told them.
Well, you probably shouldn't have been in bonobos. They're for pencil thin.
Yeah.
You got to be a string bean to wear those clothes.
But we gave it a shot.
Flat bellies. Well, and you kept returning them.
There you go.
So hey, thanks for joining us here on the Focus Group. We appreciate the time you spent with us. And remember, when you're out there, particularly thank God we're getting lighter we're gaining time each night, John, or each day, John.
We're climbing up the hill.
Right. So learn all about us at focusgroupradio.com. You'll also find our podcast there, TFG Unbuttoned. You can download all of our media there and take us along on your next trip. But don't text and drive, arrive alive, and we'll see you next time here on the Focus Group. Take care.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.